Since around the 1890s, I've been collecting newspaper snippets. These snippets contain various stories and cases, murders, assaults, and missing peoples. Stories which roam around the streets of Trenton, relevant and worrying to the lives who live here in the city of Trenton. Of the many newspaper snippets I have collected, some have been more popular amongst the local Trenton residents, spreading his stories across the streets. Such as the story of a lady being accused of murdering Miss Niffen. At the time the story was published, Emma Parcel became the central figure of what was deemed a Trenton tragedy, as many had been speculating she was the one who brought Miss Niffen to death's door. An interview was conducted with Miss Parcel, denying the accusations. She had felt a terrible torture, subjected to the gaze of thousands, under the accusation of murdering a cousin, who she states was near and dear to her, a feeling too cruel to bear. Another story, which so happens to be spread amongst two different publishing, revolves around a murder case of a mother who had confessed to a murder, which creates interest amongst the locals as it reveals the story of a murder case where the assailant so happened to be the mother's son. As the investigation initially went, Rachel Sears, the mother to John Sears, went downstairs and saw her son holding a gun, where the son then proceeded to make his mother go upstairs. The mother had gone upstairs, standing by the window and viewing past a long field. She then proceeded to hear shots fired, followed by a mournful cry. After investigation, the initial suspicion was that the young man was encouraged by his mother. It was suspected that the murder of the victims could have led to the gain and possession of the Armstrong property. This would in turn change the reasoning behind the murder to be the benefit of greed through taking over the Armstrong's property, rather than that of a hastily conceived spirit of revenge. The son was placed within the court, where after interviewing 30 witnesses, it was officially determined that Mr. and Mrs. Armstrong was murdered by John Sears, and so there was no further use in continuing the inquest, and the verdict was then rendered. There are many pages full of these types of cases, some being less interesting than the ones I had discussed. These stories expand broadly, some having similar stories of murder, whether finished off or attempted, such as the story of Mayor Gaynor being shot by some old crank while aboard a ship. Other stories are less violent, such as a couple eloping, where for some time it appeared they were missing, but were later found to have left a letter detailing their plan of a secret marriage and running off. Many of these newspaper snippets create relevant stories for the locals here in Trenton, and certainly present a very damning news which not only affect the people here, but may also affect everyone within this great nation, or even globally. Many events have occurred, such as the Mexican conflicts alongside our southern border, the Great War occurring across the seas in the lands of Europe, or even some more interesting stories, such as the great indestructible Titanic having been sunk, with many onboarders having been rescued, but most likely, majority falling to death's door.